Hi, I'm Leslie,
I'm Stephanie.
and we're the Hand Readers Guild. And we are here today with another episode of the Hand Readers Read. This is where we take some handprints from clients who have come to us and we tell you what we see, just like we would if we were sitting down with that client and talking to them about their hands. So instead of just telling you about one thing that you can learn about in hands, we're going to actually do like a live reading.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, we just want to tell you a little bit about us, the Hand Readers Guild. We started this because we love hand analysis and reading hands and reading fingerprints in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to share that with the world and teach other people to do that. So we have this YouTube channel called Hand Readers Guild, and you can like us there. And we have a Facebook group called the Hand Readers Guild Forum,
Right
which
here.
you can join. And there's lots of good stuff there that's not on our videos. And we also have a Facebook page that you can like, and the links to those are down below the video. And we're actually working on some classes that we'll be teaching soon. So stay tuned for some information about those. And before we go on actually to bring you the handprints for today, Stephanie's going to tell you about our disclaimer.
Our disclaimer is we are live. We don't go back and edit anything. So what you see is what you get. We have other inhabitants in our homes, and that's why we're doing this. So you might happen to hear a dog bark or a ringing of a bell or stomping of feet.
Stomping feet.
You never know.
Yeah, my neighbor's running power tools right now. Hopefully we don't.
Right. You can hear our neighbors. Sometimes, yeah.
So we
in
don't
the
edit that
background.
stuff out. We just laugh and go on.
And
So
keep moving.
hopefully you'll laugh with us. And I guess that's it. We're going to
Mhm.
now tell you a little bit about inner voice. We've got two sets of hands we're reading today, and they both share some a life purpose, actually. So we're going to talk about the inner voice. So we have these two sets of hands. Hello, there we are.
There we are.
Go. So two pairs of hands, and they have the same life purpose. Two different people, and their life purpose is to use their inner voice and bring it into the spotlight. So what does that mean? What does that mean?
That means that they have a message that they need to bring out to the rest of us.
Right. It's not just a message that they got from their head.
Nope.
No, we're talking about a message that comes from deep inside, from the place of dreams and imagination and intuition. Intuition is a big piece of the inner voice.
Yes.
This is not about the stuff that you come up with by staying up here. This is the stuff that comes from somewhere much deeper. And, a lot of us don't trust our inner voices. We might hear it. We might doubt it. We go, oh, no, that can't be. Right?
Oh, you're so crazy.
Oh, no, that's because other people tell you that.
Exactly.
I know. They go, how do you know that?
Right.
I know that I started hearing stuff from my inner voice when I was a very little kid. And, I kept it all to myself because I had people telling me I must, they made me feel like I was going to be carted off to an institution if I kept saying that crazy shit. Oops, sorry, crazy stuff. Do we get to bleep that on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know how to do the bleep. We don't edit, remember?
We don't edit. So.
Sorry about that. Oh, my New Jersey coming out. Okay, that's what happens when I'm tired. So these two folks, they're two different ladies, and they both have, when we talk about the life purpose, we're talking about what we're reading in their fingerprints.
Yes.
So we haven't really talked too much about fingerprints in our videos. We have one video that talks about the 4 types of fingerprints and what that will tell you just by knowing which type you have primarily in your hand. So you can check that one out if you want to know a little more about fingerprints. Fingerprints is a very challenging topic to try and teach on a short video like this. It's one of those things that when we were learning it, we had to go out and read 100 hands and analyze the fingerprints of 100 people before we were allowed to charge for a reading.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us, as we were learning.
Yes.
So it takes a little bit of practice, but it's not unlearnable. It's just, you just have to sit down with it, and it takes a little more than a 30-minute video. But when we talk about the fingerprints, we rank the fingerprints based on those 4 types. And if, like I said, we have a video on that, which you can go check out. And we find the highest ranking fingers, and that's what we're looking at. So in the spotlight, when we talk about that, we're talking about the ring finger.
Oops, wrong finger.
Right. The ring finger has to do with creativity. It has to do with being in the spotlight. It's the finger of the sun, right? The sun's the brightest star in the universe. When the sun's out, it's shining on you.
Yep.
There you are in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
So the part about the inner voice, however, is not from your fingertips. So here's something we haven't talked about a lot. You can have fingerprint patterns. The technical term for these are dermatoglyphics.
Mm-hmm.
Dermatoglyphics. Derma for skin, glyph for sign, or I guess simple. Anywhere on your hands and feet. Your hands and feet are the only places where you have these ridge patterns in your skin, and you can have them anywhere. So the inner voice life purpose is going to be from having a high-ranking fingerprint, usually a loop or a whorl. And in both the cases of these handprints, it's the loop. A whorl looks more like a bullseye on the mound of the moon, which is the heel of your hand down here. And when you think about having opposable thumbs, right, we can touch all these parts of the hand. The part we can't touch is that mound of the moon. So that's the part we cannot control. So the unconscious, we don't control our unconscious. So you can see here in these little circle areas that both of these folks have what looks like a loopy pattern, kind of loop all around on that mound of the moon. And I'm not going to show you the close-up of all 4 sets of hands, but they have, both of these people have it on both hands. They have a pattern on both hands. And if we go back, I just want to go back for a minute, because you and I, when we were doing picking these hands, we both mentioned earlier that the hands of the right hand and the left hand of each of these people kind of look a little bit like they don't belong to the same person.
Yeah.
So they do have some commonalities, like having loops on both hands, but there's other things about them that seem real different. And they're, of course, different. Really different from each other.
Really different from each other, yeah.
Really different from each other. The one on the bottom is kind of got a squarish palm. The one on the top is definitely more long and stretched out looking. Okay, so back to the loop patterns in the hands. And so
not everybody has this pattern on their mound of the moon.
Well, yeah, and not everybody has like glyphs, these
you know, on their hands, on their fingertips.
Everybody has them on their fingertips, but not everybody has them in the palm.
Correct.
So this is it's interesting when they show up in the palm as well. Gives us more to talk to people about. So here's another place where you can have these loop patterns. And this is actually maybe a little more common than on the mound of the moon. They show up inside, in between your fingers or underneath your fingers. Either in between the 2 fingers, and it could be any 2 fingers. The most common place it shows up is between the pinky and the ring finger. The least common place is between the index finger and the middle finger.
And I've seen them in both of them, in right here and here and then here. I've seen them in all 3 of them on one hand.
Oh, I believe it. I've seen people with multiples too. But I remember I actually have a very strong memory of the first time I saw the one over here in between the index finger and the middle finger, which in old palmistry, they used to call that the Raja loop. Do you remember that name?
No.
The Raja loop, they used to say it meant you were descended from royalty.
Oh.
Of course, now we look at it differently because the index finger is your finger of leadership. We call that executive ability. We don't have as many royals these days, but we do have a lot of leaders.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I remember my first one, and I remember telling the person about it, and they were.
I'm royalty.
Okay, so in the case of both the folks we're talking about today, they have loopy patterns underneath that ring finger, which besides having one of their life purpose fingerprints on the ring finger, they have this loopy pattern swooping under the finger. And it's either right under the finger, which you can see on the left. It really goes under the whole finger. On the right side, you see it's a little more to the side of the finger, but it definitely swoops under as it gets towards the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an indication that this person does not have the option of hiding behind the curtain. This is one of those markers that says, yep, you have to put yourself out on center stage. And everybody I read for who has this cringes when I tell them that. Do you get that reaction?
Yes. Yep. I don't want to do that.
Right. They're always like, no.
No. Stop reading my hands. No, I'm kidding.
And so the opposite of having this part of your hand as your life purpose is if it were your challenge. One of the things that would come with that would be fear of rejection. It's like, what if people hate me? What if they don't like me?
What if they throw tomatoes at me?
Right. Or what is like in the Bugs Bunny cartoon, they had the cane and they would pull them out with the cane off stage. Remember those old cartoons?
That was like the Gong Show.
Oh, did they do that on there too?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but I believe you.
So it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so were some of those cartoons.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have this loopy pattern under your ring finger, this means you too are having to put yourself out there with whatever else you have going on in your life, whether it's a message or your art or your leadership skills. You might have to be a public speaker of some kind. It's not an option. You don't get to say no. At some point, if you don't willingly do it, you'll have circumstances show up that put you square on center stage until you feel more comfortable with it.
And maybe not in a good way.
Right. Maybe not in a good way. It's better if you do it voluntarily.
Right, exactly.
As is true with so many things, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's look at the individual sets of hands and talk about the big picture, which is how we do a reading. Okay, so this is Linda. Now, I mentioned earlier that Linda's hands, her right hand and her left hand look a little different from each other. Her right hand, I don't know, it just seems more open, right? More free-spirited with those spread fingers, more like a little kid's hand.
It's not weighted down at the bottom.
Right. The left hand looks like it's sagging, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I think both Linda and our next person that we're looking at, Rose, they both have one hand where the moon sags. What is the sagging moon? I remember.
It's not doing your internal intuitive work.
Right. It's kind of like you're trying to let's just like make it sink away. It's like thinking about when you're feeling embarrassed and you want to just sink into the floor. Isn't it like that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what you're doing with your inner voice.
I'm trying to think of what they used to call that. I'll get to it in a minute. I can't remember at the moment.
Yeah, I don't remember if we had a name for it or not, but it definitely is talking about it.
A saggy moon or something like that.
I
I don't remember. That's what it is.
That's
Just
kind of
hanging there.
so now. So one of the things though that Linda has that support her life purpose of inner voice in the spotlight. She has a headline, and when we do have a whole video on headlines, if you want to learn about headlines, the headline is the line that starts around the thumb and goes horizontally across your hand. The one right under your fingers is the heart line. So the one across the middle of your hand is the headline. And it talks about your style of thinking or your style of computing, right? Kind of your brain's natural way it likes to work. Now, this headline actually doesn't really go across her hand for very long. What it does is it plunges down like a waterfall. This is like such a waterfall looking headline.
Yes.
And that's the blue line here. It just plunges right down into her mound of the moon. So this is what we call the Persephone headline. The ultra intuitive headline. It's a gift marking for, it's kind of like Persephone was the goddess who spent time in the underworld. It's literally access to other worlds, to that unconscious, invisible realm.
And she has some great access to that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is some of the most curving, one of the most curving headlines I have in my collection of handprints. It's just nuts about how much that
how far it goes down
all the way into the wrist. And I mean, it's like a waterfall. Talk about watery and intuitive. So that is a beautiful support for her life purpose. There's that access right there. And her head is naturally inclined to think philosophically, imaginatively, intuitively. This is the extreme right brain thinker. And then that little orange line that I have marked there, that is what we call, and you can see it here without the mark on it. That's what we call the line of inner communication. So the pinky is the finger of communication. And we actually have a video on markers of communication. I called it Honest or Not. We were talking about honesty, truth and honesty, but it talks about communication marks in general. And so this line actually starts at the wrist and moves up towards the finger, as opposed to the headline, which goes down to the wrist. This one starts at the wrist and moves up. And not everybody has this line.
No.
Not everyone has it. But it is the mark that says that you're getting information from that deep realm, bringing the place of intercommunication, bringing it up to the pinky. Any lines that come up to the fingers and move up to the fingers and out is how you get things out into the world.
Energy going outward.
Right. Because this is how we interact, right? With our fingers.
Yep.
So that is a very strong line of intercommunication, and she has it on both hands. It's clean. It makes it all the way up. It doesn't really have any breaks. That's pretty nice. That's very supportive.
Yes.
Of getting her message out. Now, she does have a couple of challenges. So what challenge do you see?
Her challenge of her finger getting close to this Saturn finger, which is the middle finger.
Right, on the left hand there.
Yeah, but maybe not feeling secure about actually being the messenger or the person that is in the spotlight.
Right. So the ring finger, again, is that life purpose finger of being in the spotlight, using your creativity, getting it out there, doing your own thing, kind of being a little bit of the oddball, being an innovator. Those are all things associated with that finger.
Self-expression.
Self-expression, getting out on the center stage, putting it out there. The middle finger is Saturn, and that has everything to do with safety, security, doing things traditionally. It's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
They're almost opposites. And when you look at her left hand, boy, those fingers are clinging together. So the left hand is more of the hand of the inner self. The right hand, she's got them more spread out. So she's putting on a good face.
I do that. Really, really, I do that.
From the outside, it looks like she's just real comfortable being out in the spotlight. But on her left hand, it's telling you that every time she has to do this, she's looking for it to be safe before she puts herself out there.
Yep.
Yep. She's not all that comfortable in the spotlight. She would like to have some guarantees.
Yes.
Guarantee me that nobody's got tomatoes in their pockets, please.
Yep.
And the other thing that I see as a challenge is she's got a lot of lines on her hands just in general. And if you look at her right hand, that mound of the moon has some lines on it. On the left hand, that's looking a little sparse. So lines talk about activity. When we have the mound of the moon is blank, what do we call that?
That's the tundra syndrome.
Right? The frozen tundra.
Frozen tundra.
So she's not completely blank there on the left, but compared to her right.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Yeah, we would say she's definitely got some, like, let's freeze it out. Don't want to go there. It's a little hard for somebody with a headline like that.
I know.
Gosh, could you imagine being so present there all the time and trying to switch that off? That would
second guessing all the time.
Right, second guessing. Did I really am I really right when I think about this? Can I trust my intuition? I don't like what my intuition is telling me. Right?
We're just going to shut that off right now.
Right? I don't like what, yes. Exactly. That makes me feel uncomfortable. And, that fits right in with those two fingers clinging together. Right. So, I'd say she's mostly in a pretty good shape for getting her life purpose, but she's got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah.
A little bit of work to do. So let's look at our other set of handprints. This is Rose. So Rose, as opposed to Linda, has a very, very straight headline. It's about as straight as you could get. I mean, you'd need a ruler to draw it a whole lot straighter than that.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty straight.
Right. So that is the classic left brain thinker. So with life purpose of accessing her inner voice and intuition and a straight headline, what do you think might happen there?
Oh, that's definitely, I have to go with the logic. My intuition is not accurate.
Yeah.
I don't have, my gut instincts have not been right for me. So I'm just going to logically do it.
Right. And I would say on her left hand, her headline even curves up a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
That's a marker that we call just the facts, right?
Yeah. Just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, just the facts. So this person you're going to get that inner voice saying, you need to think about da 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 da, and they're going to go, but really, does that match the facts?
Right. Yeah.
So
the tangible does not agree with the intuitive.
Right. Right. So a little bit of conflict there, maybe trying to tell their inner voice, nope, I don't believe you. So another thing going on for Rose is in her thumb.
Yes.
Her thumbs are disappearing.
They're floating.
Yeah.
They're floating in space.
And if you watch some of our other videos, you know that we've talked about how our process for taking handprints, that we take them again and again and again. We don't just take one set. And if the hands don't print correctly, like you can see, Rose has a couple of spots even in the middle of the palm that are kind of not showing up. We'll take the print again. And if it comes, and we'll do it a couple of times. And as long as it keeps doing it, then we know that the hands are trying to tell us something.
Yes.
Aren't those what we call voids?
Yeah.
Yep. We call them voids, which means it's trying to tell us that the energy is not coming through.
Not
so,
there. Yeah.
So what's tell us about that part of the thumb.
The thumb is about your willpower, and the part of the thumb that's missing is about about discernment and third eye, isn't it?
Right. It's
Your
third
throat
eye
chakra.
and throat chakra.
Throat chakra.
So if you know anything about chakras, there's 7 energy centers in the body. And we've talked about the throat chakra, I think, in our communications, honest or not
Yes.
video. And we probably mentioned it in a couple of others.
Mm-hmm.
We might have, yeah, I'm sure we've mentioned it in a couple of others.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about tundra, by the way, in our video on the moon and in our video on, I think, heart lines and relationships.
Yes.
So when her throat chakra is missing and her life purpose is to bring her inner voice to the spotlight, what do you think's going on?
I'm thinking she's not doing it.
Right. The throat chakra is about being able to know when to speak and when not to.
Yes, this might be the water cooler counselor that just tells other people how to do their business, but not necessarily taking care of their own, or
right. Or just, doesn't speak up at the right moment.
Right. I should have said that. Dang it. 3 days ago.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Rose also does not have the nice line of communication the way Linda did.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little bit of one on her right hand.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty deeply carved, which means it's trying to work hard, but it's getting stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting stopped by her heart line, which is pretty heavily armored there. Her heart line has a lot of lines going across it, kind of like protecting it from something.
Yes. I wonder if it has to do with the thought process, just the facts man and the intuitive, and not letting them talk together. Could be part of it. Could be heartache. Could be a heartache.
Could be heartache.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow she doesn't like the idea. Is, there's that part of her that would just rather deal with the facts than with the emotional piece.
Yeah. Even though she has an emotional hand.
Yes, she has a very emotional hand. Those long, long fingers, they're water, aren't they?
Yes. We really haven't talked about hand shapes at all.
No, we have not.
No.
There's earth, air, fire, and water.
And this is water.
This is definitely water. Oh my gosh. She is almost drowning.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like she doesn't like that idea, because the last thing I think we want to talk about on her hands is, first of all, the left hand almost is trying not to show up. I actually made this print darker so we could see it.
I know you would have to do that, because it didn't come out super dark on my print either.
It was like she didn't want to show up. Her inner life didn't want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
The right hand printed nice and dark, and the left one was so pale.
And I printed them both the same exact way with the same amount of ink. Just
of course.
FYI.
Of course.
Yes.
But then those fingers, see how they're all straight up and down?
Oh, super beautiful, perfect little flowers.
Right. So this is something we call the nice garden. When you think about somebody whose house might be a mess, but the front yard looks gorgeous because that's what the neighbors see.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want you to know that the minute you walk through the front door, you're going to see like just chaos everywhere. It's like, this is what will the neighbors say? So they want everything to look perfect on the outside. So, and that's what we call it when when they look like fence posts, when they're straight. I can't even do it with my hands.
I know. How do you do that here?
I don't.
That is close as I can get.
It was just real obvious. It's one of those things that you recognize after you've seen it enough times.
Yeah.
You just go, yep, this person is trying to make everything look nice on the outside, but there's some chaos there on the inside.
Yes. Leave it to Beaver on the outside.
Yes, leave it to Beaver. That's a good one.
Leave it to Beaver on the outside with the Bundys from, Al Bundy on the inside.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love it. I love it. That's great. But here's something really positive that's in her hand. She's got beautiful stars on her moon.
Oh, yeah.
So stars are explosions of energy. And a star on your hand doesn't have 5 points like you would draw, with your little pen and where you make 5 points. Stars on the hands are 3 lines that come together at a central point to make 6 spokes, like an asterisk. It looks like an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
And she has lots of these. I think we might be able to see them if we go back to this area here. You can see some kind of happening. Well, one that on that hand is kind of fallen off the side of the hand there. She's
right. On her right hand, she has a very beautiful one.
Yes, on the right hand. So let's go back.
And it also looks like she has a girdle of intuition on that. A crescent of intuition, excuse me.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's minor.
It's kind of hiding, but you can see, yes, on the right hand, on that really dark area of the mound of the moon, she does have a beautiful star there. And if you could zoom in, which these slideshow here won't let me, but if you could zoom in, you would see that she has some little tiny ones there as well. So those are markers of giftedness in the realm of intuition. And we talk about stars on our moon video, and we talk about stars. We have a whole video on stars. If you want to learn more about those, you can check out those videos. So her inner voice isn't being quiet by any means.
No.
I think she's just working hard to try and not hear it. It's the, I can't hear you.
Would you stop humming? I can't hear you.
Right, exactly.
I'm ignoring you really, really well.
Right, exactly. But they're not certainly being quiet, because those are beautiful stars, and some of them are quite big. So, those are gifts. Those are, and the nature of gifts, which we've mentioned in a couple of our videos, is that it's not an option. You are required to use your gift. The nature of a gift is that it must be given, or it's not a gift. So if you're not giving it, you either lose the gift or you get the upside down version of the gift, which is not very nice.
Right. Penalties of some kind.
Right. Some way where the universe makes you a little uncomfortable so it can tap you on the shoulder and say, see, you don't like this situation? Use your gift and it'll stop.
Right. Trust me on that one. It's a true thing. It really happens.
Yes, as people, we both have gifts in our hands. We both know what happens when you don't use them.
Oh, and you just get smacked right in the face.
Right. You get the psychic 2x4. The longer you ignore it,
the bigger the louder, the harder.
Right.
It all comes at you.
Right. So 2 very, very different sets of hands. 2 people having to bring their inner voice into the spotlight. So what about you? Let me ask you, viewer, are you using your voice in your inner voice? Are you listening to it? Do you tell it, nope, I'm not listening to you? Do you doubt it? Do you say, I'm not sure, I have to check against my facts to see if that could possibly be true? Do you hear it and then dismiss it and tell it to be quiet? Leave us some comments.
Do you have some great ideas, but you feel like you're just going to get overwhelmed with all of the negative feedback that may or may not come back? That's all in your head.
Right. You have an
story
where you wish you had listened to it because it came true later.
Yeah. Yep.
Leave us a comment under our video, or join our Facebook group and tell your story there. We'll definitely get back to you and talk to you about that. So yeah, definitely. We check those comments, we answer them. Again, here's our Facebook group. If you want to join us there and dialogue with us a little bit more, we will definitely talk to you there and answer your questions. We'll share more stories. There's lots of diagrams there that you can look at and learn more about hand analysis. Like our YouTube channel here. Subscribe. Come back and see us next time. We have some more interesting stuff to tell you. But for today, we're just going to say bye.
Have a good one.
So, bye.